Hi, if you're new around here, I'm Bailey Lavender. I'm known for doing comedic skits about the salon industry and the horrible things that happen that a lot of people don't think are true, but are actually true. Today we're getting into a new story that adds a new B to the list. So it's beauty, blowout, backstabbing, and blood. So, thank you for being here. If you have not checked out my skits before, they're on my shorts. You can hop on over. But before you do so, make sure you hit the subscribe button so more videos like this pop up for you because I'm really enjoying making these. So let's get to it. So a lot of people know there's multiple different kind of like chain salons in the United States. This one is extremely well known, okay? The stylist that sent in today's video is working at the time at this salon chain, okay? So she is there, she's chilling, she's doing her day-to-day job, and typically at this salon chain, you have hours that you're working and you're just like chilling, right? And someone comes in, it's a walk-in type of experience, and they then do your service and you roll out, right? Typically you don't have to make an appointment for this kind of chain. So this stylist, she has someone come in and was like, hey, I want to get my daughter a shampoo and blowout. And she's like, okay, cool, not a big deal. And walks back to the shampoo area to drape her and to go ahead and start shampooing her hair. Well, she had to be like, whoa, we can't move forward, pause, run, because she gets the client back to the shampoo bowl, right? Like I said, and full stop, whoa, brakes, sound, screeching, you know what I mean? And I'm sure that this stylist was not as dramatic as what I'm being and had so much more poise. I am fully aware that I am very dramatic and a lot of what I say is not actually like how an interaction fully goes, because this would be boring if I was just like, so they said da-da-da-da-da, you know? That'd be boring. Y'all want enthusiastic. She, like I said, sits the client down and was like, whoa, so we're gonna have to pause on this. And the client's like, why? When this stylist looked down at this client's head, right, before draping her, she had multiple staples in her head, in that noggin. And the stylist was like, whoa, what is happening here? I can't shampoo you, much less blow dry you, much less put other products in your hair. And they're like, well, we really want you to get the dried blood out of her head. And she's like, I get that. I get you not wanting that in your head. The issue is this is not just dried blood. It is an open wound currently, because you can tell that the blood was still fresh. You can tell that like it was not healed. I mean, heck, the staples were still in there. Like, I have had stitches. I have never had staples. So maybe I'm crazy, but when this stylist is talking to them, they're not shocked when the stylist is like, I'm sorry, I can't move forward with this. They're like, okay, that sucks, but whatever. And they keep on with their life, right? So she tells them, we can't move forward with this. I do apologize. I wish I could help you. And they're very understanding. They're like, okay, so is it because of the staples and the blood in my head? And she's like, so it's because of the open wound. I can't shampoo you with an open wound, because if you get an infection from me, because literally it's an open wound, and if I put product on you to shampoo you, like it could infect it worse. You could then have some type of like bad infection, and then it would be on me. Like there's a lot that goes to this. So this is just a hard stop today. I apologize. When your staples are out and you're healed, did you hear that? You can come back, and I'll love to do your shampoo blowout then and help you out in any way possible, right? Now, mind you, okay, from my own standing point right now, at me, Bailey Lavender, okay, I have never had staples, right, like I told you, but I have had family members who have had staples, and who have had to go through different situations of like glue on them, or I'll explain that later. So when you are getting this stuff stapled into your head, stapled into your arm, your leg, your side, wherever you're getting staples on your body, they tell you, they're like, hey, you can't do X, Y, and Z, and this is how you clean it. And anybody I've ever been around that's had staples, like, or in stitches or whatever, they're fully aware of how the cleaning of these things work, right? It's not like you go to the hospital, you get something done to you like that, staple stitches or whatever, and then you leave where you're not sure of how to clean these things, right? Because like, I say all that while saying I have never met anybody who has had that. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm saying that I've never met anybody that has not had that information given to them. Now, mind you, this was 10 years ago, so maybe that was different, and maybe within 10 years they've realized, hey, we may need to tell people how to clean them. So that, I'm not saying that this isn't true. Continue. So the client and her mother leave, and 2 hours later, 2 hours later, not 2 days later, not 2 weeks later, not 2 months later, 2 hours later, the mother-daughter duo come walking back into the salon. And she's like, hi, welcome back. How can I help you? They're like, hey, we solved the issue. Can you give me a shampoo blowout now? And she's like, what do you mean? We went home and took out the staples. Huh? We went home and took out these staples. I think you may have need those, men. You know, when they put staples in your head, sometimes they need them. So this young girl and her mother, now maybe they didn't go home, maybe that they meant like they went to the doctor, we're not sure. We left and came back, no staples any longer in their head, okay? She sits the girl down and was like, let me look at this. Looks at her head, there's fresh blood. There is an opened wound now from that, whatever the staple is holding together. And also the open wound from the staples being ripped out of this girl's head, and now is just an open wound. And they again wanted her to shampoo, blow dry her hair. And she's like, again, this is not the issue. The staples being in the head is not the issue per se. The issue is that you have an open wound, and now you have more open wounds. So now I really, really, really can't work on you, because if you get an infection from the shampoo that I put on you, from the product that I put in your hair, whatever it may be, I do not feel comfortable doing this, right? And there might be stylists out there that feel comfortable working on clients that they don't know their history, or like that you have worked with this stuff before, so you're fully like, do not care if you work on someone who has had an open wound. But there are stylists who do care and are concerned that they're gonna give you an infection. So it is completely understandable why this stylist was like, absolutely not. The client at that point was upset, and so they left and did not come back. The stylist still thinks about this to this day of like, what happened to that person? Are they okay? Did they ever find someone to shampoo their staple wound head? Are they okay? Did they get an infection? Did they keep it clean? Like all the questions that you have. I have had many clients in my years that have had procedures, either neck lifts, face lifts. I've been in the industry since I was 18 years old, and I'm 30 years old now. So I've had so many clients go through different things. Cancer, like skin cancer that they've had removed. I've had, like I said, many different procedures done to my clients whether it be cosmetic or not, that are from the neck up, and they were unable to get simple things done like a shampoo blowout because of infection fears. And so this is not something that's uncommon, but I guess something that's uncommon for a stylist to feel as though they have to like turn someone away, because normally doctors will tell people, hey, don't go do XYZ because you have a higher chance of getting an infection. Or since if you're getting stitches today, please do not shampoo your hair for this amount of time, or please wait until I check it out again before you shampoo it, or here's a way to clean it so that it doesn't get infected, like that kind of stuff. With that being said, I have had family members, right, who have had procedures done, or I hope this is okay, I'll talk about. So my grandmother, a few years ago, she had a fall. And mind you, my grandmother's pretty young, so her fall was like not just because like she's older. My grandmother, she is younger, and she had a fall, and she had hurt her head. They went to go clean it or like seal it. They had to glue it. Well, my grandmother, she has a lot of hair. She's always been known for the amount of hair that she has around her head, and then she, like many people during her time, like bigger hair. They like it big, they like it in their face, like in your face, not in your face, but like her hair is just, people know her for like her big hair. And so when they took this glue and sealed the parts of her head closed that had opened, they glued some of her hair into it. And I don't know if it was just because they were rushing or if because they weren't paying attention, but like it was obvious that there was glue stuck or hair stuck in the glue. So me as her granddaughter and a hairstylist, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like they couldn't take in 5 seconds and just clipped it out of the way so you didn't have glue, hair glue, whatever you want to call it. Like that seemed just like, it felt lazy to me, and I didn't like it because that's my grandma, right? When she came in to see me, mind you, she was finally able to get, like, lean her head back into a shampoo bowl so I could shampoo her because she'd had an injury and she couldn't be getting her her glue wet. And so she had to wait a period of time, which is why this first story is wild to me, because of this kind of situation where like she wasn't allowed to get glue wet. And I'll tell you a different story about staples here in a little bit, but she could barely put her head back in a shampoo bowl for me to shampoo her. And so when I was doing so, I was trying to gently loop my finger into the hair that was looped into the glue and just trying to gently pull, right? Because I was not wanting her to have like a ton of broken hairs right around her face, because then it's going to cause more frizz, cause more issues. And so I couldn't. It wouldn't let up. It was very much not going to come out. It had been too long, I think. I don't know. Maybe the glue is just super strong. I don't know medical glue. So inevitably, I had to take my shears and go around the glue line and cut those little pieces of hair that was stuck in there. Now, mind you, when all those tiny little pieces were cut, it was standing like this around her head, but it was better than when she'd go to move her hair out of her face, her hand getting caught and it pulling on her incision. And it was one of those situations, like I said earlier, that it was very frustrating that someone didn't think when gluing this together, let me move this hair. But also, that might be my first thought due to the fact that this is my career. And I think about those kind of things because I'm a hairstylist, where as someone who is in the medical field, that more than likely is not their thought process. So, or even a concern of theirs, because they're not worried about the client's hair. I'm literally talking myself out of what I just stated. And more than likely what happened, now that I'm kind of thinking all that through, is they were like, hey, I'm more concerned with if this woman's skin stays together than if her hair gets in the way. God, Bailey, be more considerate. Anyways, don't you hate it when you think back and you're like, wow, I was kind of a brat about that. Anyways, so I get it all out, right? And I get it, it's waving in the wind, right? And eventually she's able to go and get the glue taken off, right? Well, I don't know what the doctor says, blah, blah, but they're like, oh my God, thank you for taking so good care of this. But mind you, right, there was blood in her hair, there was blood around her scalp, but she waited a few days to make sure that she was not going to possibly be irritating an open wound, okay? So there's another person, and I'm not gonna name names because they've not given me consent to tell the story, and I apologize if you don't want me telling the story, but it's kind of funny. So there's a person in my family who a few years ago got into a situation where they ended up with a busted head and they had to have staples put into their head. With that being said, they had to take extra precautions in making sure that that stayed sanitized and safe and not causing infection. And so that's why I say that doctors typically, at least nowadays, typically tell people, hey, this is how you handle cleaning this, right? So I'm curious, have y'all ever had a procedure done? Know someone who's had a procedure done? And if so, right, that had stitches or had staples, did they refer them to a salon to get shampooed immediately, or did they have to wait an extended period of time? Is that normal? Am I crazy? Is the stylist crazy for thinking that this is abnormal? Because I will forewarn you that as a hairstylist, we are not taught. We're taught sanitation, we're taught disinfection, we're taught how to handle a lot of different situations, but someone coming in from getting their head newly stapled back together is not something that we're taught how to handle. But so Charlie, my wife, if you're unaware of, she had a double mastectomy in September. When she had that, there was certain soaps that she was allowed to use. There were certain soaps that she was not allowed to use, especially ones that were like fragranced, right? With that being said, she had sutures, right, from getting her double mastectomy. And so to me, when you have an open wound, there's certain shampoos that you should probably not use, and a lot of shampoos are fragranced. So is that possible that you're going to infect this open wound on this client? And is it fair for the client to have gotten upset that she would not scrub her head, rub her head, get the blood off? Because then too, right, if you're thinking about, we're going to use my fingers as a description. So if you say this is held together, right, with this is cut, my fingers are cut, we're going to do this. My fingers are cut and the medical staff close them together, right? And there are staples on either side. If I'm rubbing around this, is it a possibility that they come reopen? Like, I remember Charlie had to use this particular soap for months, right? And we had to be extremely careful with her scalp, she didn't have anything done to her scalp. With her chest, we had to be extremely careful with her chest, with our son, because of movement, with wiggling, with wanting to make sure you're not jostling around your open wound, right? Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm just a worrywart, but I really want to know if that's something y'all have ever dealt with, because is this something that people need to talk about more? Like, is this something that medical trained professionals need to be made aware of, hey, that's another question. If you're in medical field, will you tell me what they do for this kind of situation? Because if this is something that a medical field professionals need to be made aware of like, hey, FYI, people in the hair world are dealing with this more often than you think. Can we come up with a solution so that we're not having to concern ourselves with, is this safe? Is this sanitary? Should I be doing X, Y, and Z? Like, if this is something that we need to concern ourselves with, we need to make sure that hairstylists are getting proper education so that hairstylists learn how to properly handle this kind of situation. Because I'll tell you right now, when my grandmother came in and she had her cut on her head, I didn't know how to handle it. But you know why I dealt with it is because she was my grandma. She was my grandma, and if anything happened, it don't matter. It's my grandma, and she wouldn't blame me anyways. It wouldn't be my fault. My grandma loves me. I'm really curious. Is this something that's common? Have you dealt with this before? And the thing about it, right, is in these chain salons, when you're working as a commissioned stylist, or some of these chain salons are honestly hourly stylists. And a lot of stylists like that because, if I go in for this period of time, if I have a client or not, I will still get paid. And that's what a lot of stylists that are trying to build their clientele or are trying to just simply make ends meet or whatever their reasoning, a lot of them really like this chain because of that kind of situation, right? But when you are in a chain salon or in a commission salon or in a hourly, whatever those kind of things are, outside of booth rent or salon suite rent, a lot of times you can't turn clients away, right? And you have to deal with them unless you're in a situation where you're like, I don't think this is a safe situation and I have to turn this away. So a lot of people may have felt obligated to move forward with the service and do it anyways, where the client may have gotten an infection. She may have made the open wound become more open, or it may have been perfectly fine. We don't know because the service was not completed because the stylist did not feel comfortable. And mind you, I need to remind you that just because you go in to get a service done does not mean that stylist, that service provider, that nail tech, waxing technician, whatever it is, has to service you. A lot of people have that misconception that any salon that they walk into, that they are obligated to get that service done. If a stylist does not feel comfortable, there's many reasons, and a lot of it is not because they just don't want to. A lot of times it's because they're worried about something. Either they're worried about your safety, right? Of if I do this service, will I possibly create something that could cause an infection? And I don't want that on me, nor do I want you to have to deal with that. 2, do I know how to perform this service? Just because I'm licensed, just because I have been in the industry for 12 years, just because I know how to do a lot of different things doesn't mean that I always know how to handle every situation. There's been many a times that a client comes in and they did not forewarn me so that I can try to do some research on it or whatever the situation may be. I've had clients come in that have been my clients for years because, like I said, I'm on year 12 in this industry. Just because I've been doing this for so long does not mean that I've not had a client come in, show me a picture of something, and me say, pause, we're gonna have to bring you back another day, right? Because maybe I didn't know that that's what they wanted, and I know how to do the service, but I don't have enough time for them, or I don't have the product for them, because everything in here is stuff that I go and purchase myself and keep on hand in case I need it, right? But you never know what your client is going to need, and so you try to stay prepared. Well, in a commission salon, like, you sometimes have more options because the owner can buy stock, right? They have a whole bunch of options for that stylist to have on hand, right? But a lot of times when you're new at booth rental, you go in and you buy very minimal because you don't have a lot of money. You're just trying to make ends meet. You're just trying to, like, get on to being your own business owner, or your small business owner. Sorry, that was a weird verbiage. So wherever you are within the industry, if you're in the industry, okay, I want to know what you would have done in this situation. If you have been in the industry 20,000 years, or if you are on day 1 of hair school, I want to know what you personally would have done if someone come in and had staples in their scalp and was wanting, and they obviously, it was maybe not brand new, maybe not like a couple hours new, but like it was still fresh, right? It was not fully healed. And they wanted you to do a shampoo blowout. Would you have just gently tried to exfoliate that blood off of them, or would you have recommended them to go see a medical professional? These are the questions that I really want to start asking, not out, and I don't want my comment section to be ridiculing each other, right? Because in this salon industry, there's a lot of things that we're not made aware of, that we're not taught, that we're not told how to handle, because we're not aware these are situations that we're gonna have to handle, right? And so I feel as though talking in the comment section in a kind way, informing each other of different things will help build our community and our industry, because the goal of going into this industry, I feel as though should be, and it's not for everybody, but it should be, to leave it eventually better than how we found it. And unfortunately, a lot of stylists in this industry believe that because they started it in one way, because they started where they had to ride their donkey to work and they traded a chicken for a haircut, like, because, this is being dramatic, but like, just because they think that that's how they started, that's how it should still be going now. And I don't believe in that. Just because you were spoken to horrendously in the beginning of your salon industry experience does not mean that these new stylists coming in should have to expect that or take that, right? I feel as though as an industry, we should be growing together, learning together, and encouraging these new stylists to not have to go through everything that we went through, right? To me, it's similar as in when you go in to see your doctor, you're not expecting them to have the same knowledge that they had back in early 1900s, right? And unfortunately, there's not much change within the hair world of how in-depth of schooling is, right? They're trying their best, but unfortunately, the salon industry is trying to get rid of licensing, which I think is dumb. I did a podcast with Rebecca Rogers recently. We talked about that, about how the salon, the state boards in some states are trying to get rid of the licensing for becoming a hairstylist. And someone in the comments section stated that they disagree that with my point of view, that as long as you're good at doing hair, that you should be allowed to do it. And the scary part about that, and that obviously to me shows that someone who's not licensed, who's not gone through a licensing of some sort to understand the reasoning of why to get licensed. When you go in to get something done, there is a chance within your nails, your hair, your skin, your waxing, whatever it may be, right? That anything, someone touching you, food, whatever, that you could leave with an infection, that you could leave where you are now have some type of disease. And without the proper training, right? Without the proper training outside of YouTube videos of learning how to cut or learning how to foil properly, there is a possibility that your stylist working on you could give you something bad, like disease-wise. I get where that thought process comes from, where it is easier sometimes just to start doing hair without having to go through proper training. But there's a reason that you go through proper training. And a lot of times it's not even to get good at hair. A lot of times we're learning how to make sure that we are not endangering the person who's sitting in front of us. How to make sure we're not possibly burning them and giving them 3rd-degree burns or first, second, third, or whatever kind of burns. Making sure we're not cutting someone's ear off or cutting them in general, right? Learning how to make sure that we're not giving you 3rd-degree burns from bleach that's put onto you or color or whatever it may be. Make sure that we know how to test to make sure prior to your appointment, if we've started a new color line or if you're a new client, that you're not going to have a chemical reaction of some sort, or we're testing your hair to make sure your hair is not literally going to fall off of your head. Like, there's many things that we are taught in school to make sure that we are keeping your safety at the forefront of our brains at all times. So that is why, to me, getting rid of licensing within not just the salon industry, but a lot of different industries is a very terrifying thought process. And I don't know why that would be in question, because I've heard for years that it is in question, that in the state of South Carolina, that they are like, maybe we'll keep it, maybe we will not. But that was a tangent for whatever reason. Thank you so much for still being here. I appreciate you. If you have a crazy story within the salon industry, make sure you send it to thebaileylavenderhair@gmail.com. I love you all so much. I'll see you next week for the next video. That sounds dumb, but whatever. I love you, and I hope you have a great day.